UFD Tech went down yesterday, but don't worry, we're all right.
If you're a real gamer, you'll buy an iPhone.
And if you're a real company, you're gonna go with Intel making these GPUs. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. This Wednesday, September 13th, 2023, and we need to address the elephant in the room. We're uploading a video here on UFD Tech after we released this video on our second channel yesterday. UFD Tech is gone again, where I detailed the fact that we got a community guideline strike on our channel for live streaming the Apple event, which normally isn't a big deal. But because we have a long-standing feud with Nintendo where we can't get them to remove their community guidelines warning from our channel for a stupid video that does, I'm so mad. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here. Anyways, we appealed that second one with Apple. I didn't think it was fair, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's not a big deal. We lose our channel for a week. They came back after our video was posted saying, we've reviewed your appeal. It looks like you don't violate the community guidelines. So we're totally fine in that regard. Just a little worrying trend, but yeah. The core message of this video still stands true regardless of whether or not we can upload videos here on UFD Tech. I should be able to get rid of this Nintendo community guideline strike. I don't care if I have to take a course. I'm not gonna sue them back. Yeah. But honestly, Nintendo's grip on our channel needs to be removed. And so
it's been hanging around for a couple of years now.
I absolutely stand by that video, even though it got resolved quickly. Thankfully, I don't know if YouTube heard me complaining about it and they resolved it, but you didn't resolve the key problem, which is I need to get rid of this Nintendo situation. But the developers of Cyberpunk 2077 are wondering if you can get rid of the heat situation on your PC, because the upcoming launch of Cyberpunk 2.0, which somebody said is launching tomorrow?
I heard Thursday,
Yeah, but I haven't seen anything confirmed on that. Anyways, one of the devs came out and said, hey, check your system's cooling, because the update to Cyberpunk 2.0 allows it to actually use all 8 cores on a modern Ryzen 7, on a, I guess that'd be an i5 that has 10 cores
these days now.
Yeah, because they can get up to 90% on 8 cores. Now, I think a lot of people misunderstood what this tweet was trying to say. People were like, oh no, it's gonna max out my system even more, which is not what he's saying. He's actually saying that you no longer need a mod to actually enable multi-core optimizations across 8 cores. The game will natively do it, which means that your CPU is going to be hit harder, but it's going to be spread across the entire opportunity of whatever CPU you have. So it's not that it runs harder, it's that it runs better and then therefore can elevate to the next level, especially with all of the updates that they make. But I want to share this hilarious video with us for a second, because somebody made a video about if Bethesda made Cyberpunk 2077 where they put loading screens in the exact same places that you find them in Starfield. Are you ready for this, Reece? Oh, sorry, loading screen.
Another one.
Oh, you're trying to go somewhere? Let's get in the car. Oh, sorry, loading screen. Oh,
why that song? Why that song?
Oh, you want to fast travel somewhere? Loading screen. That one actually does happen, though.
That's true.
You want to go through that door? Loading screen. This is
painful.
Yeah. But you know what? It's not painful. Today's video sponsor, which might be the most apt we've had in a while.
Yeah, it feels right.
Today's video is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. The UFD Tech team, we recently drove all the way across America and back for LTX 2023, and we have the Cannonball for the Cure charity stream that we're doing that's also coming up in October. And in that time, we covered 8,000 miles of road with a further 6,000 miles of road that's coming up. And typically, as it happens when you cover that amount of distance, you see some pretty bad driving practices. And I'm pretty always mildly worried on our drive streams about getting into an accident. But thankfully, I know the one thing that I wouldn't be daunted by is the process of getting an injury claim submitted. And while I thankfully haven't had to use them, with Morgan & Morgan, submitting an injury claim is so easy. Morgan & Morgan has modernized the injury law process so you can submit a claim and have it reviewed by a lawyer without ever having to get up off your couch. You can sign documents, upload pictures, share share medical records and doctor bills all from your phone. You can even text with your attorney and case manager without having to physically go into an office. When you're injured in an accident, hiring an attorney is one of the first things that you should do. And with Morgan & Morgan, submitting a claim is so easy. More than 3 million people have trusted Morgan & Morgan when they were injured in an accident. And if you're ever in an accident, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. You can submit a claim in 8 clicks or less, and you can have America's largest injury law firm fighting for you. You can get started at forthepeople.com/UFD or dial pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell. Big thanks again to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's video. And Apple didn't use much legal language when it came to launching the iPhone 15 Plus Pro and Pro Max yesterday, especially with regards to the USB-C situation. Those are the new phones we have. USB-C is now included. They honestly were actually quite subdued with the USB-C announcement.
They didn't make a big deal about it. They were just like...
They were like, here's what it is. Here's what it unlocks for the things you can do. Specifically talking about with the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, the fact that you can get up to 10 gigabits per second USB 3 speeds, which is slower than was rumored.
Yeah.
A lot of the rumors were pointing to Thunderbolt level speeds, but as Apple always will do, you don't get the USB 3 cable in the box. You have to go buy one. The cable that's included in the box is USB 2.
Okay.
So you're spending a minimum of $1,000 for the Pro or $1,200 for the Pro Max, and you still have to buy a cable that allows you to get those speeds.
So they'll give you the power, they won't give you the speed.
Yeah,
gotta pay
exactly.
extra for it.
But this does unlock a whole new set of features for the 15 Pro and Pro Max, especially when it comes to external monitors, faster external storage, and one of the really cool things they showed off, being able to either take photos directly off of the USB into a different app or record videos natively to an external SSD.
That one was one of the most impressive things that I saw.
That actually fixes one of the biggest complaints that people had with the 14 Pro and Pro Max. Cool, you're letting me shoot in ProRes RAW. You're giving me 1 terabyte of storage, and then I either have to airdrop it or I have to frickin' use USB 2.0 speeds. Whereas now, that's not even a consideration either way. You just shoot to USB-C.
Yeah, you're running to a hard drive for that specifically.
So this is one of the things that obviously comes with the feature sets of USB-C. It took Apple long enough to get here, but again, doing things in the most Apple way, $29 USB-C to Lightning adapter, which is what you were wondering about.
That's what I wanted to see.
So some people took your comment to mean USB-C mail to Lightning mail.
No.
And that's not what you were talking about, because those do exist.
I know those exist.
Yeah, 29 bucks in case you want to get the adapter, which of course allows you to continue to use all of your Lightning accessories. Also, Apple, in the cringiest way possible, celebrating all of their eco and green initiatives and the fact that they are getting rid of leather accessories, instead opting for things like fine woven material, which, cool, this is part of their 2030 initiative to be carbon neutral at every level for every single device, and now certain things like the bands that aren't the ocean loop are carbon neutral. But of course, it's not a complete iPhone launch without dbrand casting some shade, especially at the clear cases that companies like Apple tend to make, with them announcing their Ghost case, which they promise is guaranteed to never yellow.
Interesting.
So I've actually been rocking one of the clear ones, and not only has this thing yellowed, this thing, Catlin, can we get a zoom in on this? It is disgusting. The side, it's nasty. But according to dbrand, because they use a dual tone design, it has their strongest magnets ever. I'm highly interested in that one. And just going over some of the other features of the iPhone 15, has USB-C 2.0 speeds, like a lot of Android devices still do. 48 megapixel camera, essentially taking what was in the Pro from the 14, putting it in the base level this year, additionally adding the dynamic island top little bubble bar.
I like that as an addition.
They didn't increase the price on anything.
Nice.
The only technical price increase was the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which now starts at $1,200 instead of $1,100, but it comes with 256 gigs of storage, which is what a $1,200 iPhone 14 Pro Max would have cost.
Yeah, the baseline is shifted.
Exactly. The Apple Watch 2 Ultra also getting announced, as well as the Series 9. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 having a 3,000 nit display brightness.
For if you want to blind yourself by doing that.
Exactly. Absolutely incredible. It's just minor improvements. They also announced with the Series 9 as well as the Ultra 2 that it has tap gestures, so you can tap your fingers to engage with your iPhone, which is a neat action. But with the 15 Pro, they announced that there's a new action button as well as titanium case or titanium body.
I have to say the titanium body looked really good.
I don't know if I'd like it more than the mirror finish on the previous Pros, but I do like brushed metal. It also has 5x telephoto zoom. It also has the action button, which can be programmable to do different things like work with shortcuts so that it can do multiple actions or potentially even turn on your flashlight in case you want to do that. The AirPods Pro getting USB-C. And just staying on the titanium thing for a second, I don't have it in here, but they talked about how they developed a new, like, almost powder coating method for the iPhone 15 so that they could get a range of new colors that I think honestly look pretty good on the iPhone 15.
That deep blue one.
That's the
my
Pro.
favorite, yeah.
This is the lineup of the Pro series, and then this is the lineup of the 15 series. So these are more pastel, poppy colors, whereas this is more professional for the Pros.
Yeah, your business colors.
But one of the neatest things that they announced was, remember back when the Vision Pro got announced and they showed that dad recording video of his daughter?
Felt a little weird.
It was so odd because I was like, who is gonna do that? It's cool that you get to watch it back and be there, but you're not being there during the filming. Well, spatial video can now be taken with iPhone 15 Pro using 2 of the back cameras, which I saw somebody say, well, that's not the same focal distance as, or it's not the same separation as your eyes, but I think with them being wider focal lengths than our eyes, they can punch in to match. And so I don't think that's necessarily going to be a problem. And that could actually solve the problem of you can still be there and kind of hold your phone and engage instead of having this giant, just monstrosity on your face.
I'm not taking that to the beach.
You're not a trendsetter. You don't stand for Apple things.
The example.
Get off my lawn.
No.
Also, Apple expanded their whole SOS system with satellite connection. You can now have emergency SOS that works with AAA so that you can get covered for all the things that roadside assistance can help you with. But wouldn't be an Apple event if they didn't take some things away. The 13 mini, now dead, not happening. No announcement of a new iPhone SE either.
No.
Just small phones. People don't buy them enough volumes for Apple to continue to make them. But now this is the coolest thing that Apple did yesterday. They teased it at some point when they were talking about the A17 Pro chip. Before they discussed all of this next part. They mentioned something that made me think immediately, oh, this is actually Apple Silicon, and they just unlocked Apple Silicon to run certain games natively, like Resident Evil, Village, as well as, wasn't it Death Stranding was announced to come out for Apple Silicon, something like that. Turns out that means that with how powerful the A17 Pro is, 19 billion transistors, something like that, built on TSMC's 3nm setup, 6-core CPU, I believe it was a 5-core GPU, can run on the device, not cloud streaming, not from your MacBook, on the iPhone 15 Pro itself. Assassin's Creed Mirage, Death Stranding, Resident Evil Village, and Resident Evil 4 Remake.
When I saw this part of the announcement, that made me stop everything else I was doing and go, whoa.
You can play actual AAA games on your phone running on the local hardware.
That's still wild to me.
I'm going to guarantee, based on the footage that they showed, it is not running at a high resolution.
No.
It was pixelated to crap, but it still ran locally, especially with all of this transition that Apple has been putting the money into to get all of the programs to stop running on x86 and start running on ARM. This is a huge part of the transition to what Apple's doing. I'm excited for this part.
If you had told me we would have AAA games on a phone, even just like 2 years back, I would laugh.
Okay, you want to laugh at something a little bit more. So you know how we've been hearing people being like, I hope Nvidia and AMD stop making GPUs so that AAA games can get ported properly. What if these games sell so well on the iPhone that they're just like, Ubisoft is like, you know what? We're not gonna release anything to the PC anymore. We're just gonna stay on Apple. And the whole development scheme goes to Apple.
Can you imagine if this is just a market shift now and...
I'm not predicting that. it's a possibility that has now opened itself up to the most popular phone in the world, single phone brand. Like the iPhone can make some moves in the gaming industry if people buy enough of these games.
This is wild.
It's something. You know what else is something?
Deals. And hey, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. I haven't said that in a while.
Took us a long time to get here, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. But hey, first up we have the Soldyme P41 Plus NVMe M.2 SSD, this 1TB version. You can pick up for only $29.99 with the included promo code.
Would that have helped UFD Deals to load faster today?
It would have.
Okay.
And then next up we have the Corsair K65 RGB Mini 60% mechanical gaming keyboard, going for only $49.99, making it $60 off.
I don't know why you do this, and I've never talked to you about it, but it's bothered me every single time I've watched you do it. You can just round up.
No.
You can say 50.
No. And then lastly, we have the Logitech G Pro X wired gaming headset, which you can pick up for only $89.99, making it $40 off. With that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. And until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hot news.
I got a small deal for you, Reece. The world's smallest VR headset finally shipping. Big Screen Beyond actually getting these things out the door.
Big Screen is making headsets?
You know of Big Screen?
Yeah, they have an app that I use.
For what?
It just creates like a virtual environment that you can like chill in with friends and watch movies on like a shared screen. And
yeah, they're making a 127-gram VR headset that is 4 times lighter than the MetaQuest 2. It uses pancake lens with micro OLED displays, getting 5120 by 2560 resolution at 90 hertz.
Okay.
They 3D scan your face to make sure it's actually gonna fit.
What?
Actually, some pretty cool stuff. Do you want to try these out before you leave?
Absolutely.
Big Screen would have to call us. I don't know how we do that. But you know how you deliver data like that? Using good cables. And you think USB-C with iPhone 15 is the peak. Turns out not. Intel stealing Apple's thunder and announcing Thunderbolt 5, which you might be underwhelmed because Thunderbolt 4 was like nearly identical to Thunderbolt 3.
It was very, very similar.
This is 3 times as fast, can do 120 gigabits per second, 8K up to 540 hertz, 3 4K displays at 144 hertz. They're calling it a single cable for more notebooks. Absolutely insane bandwidth numbers. So it's 80 gigabits, looks like is guaranteed, and then there's an optional boost bandwidth for 50% more.
We finally have the bandwidth now for external GPUs.
Yes, so that's a big deal. That was actually my next slide, was the fact that 120 gigabits per second is equivalent to 15 gigabytes a second. So it's very close to an 8 times PCI Express 4.0 lane, which is basically a full PCI Express 3.0 lane. So you're not running 4090s, but you're gonna be able to run a 30 series, a high-end 30 series, and actually hopefully max that out. Now it's also gonna have power delivery requirements that are gonna be built into that, minimum 15 watts. It's compliant with USB 4. This is still based on USB-C, but the actual protocol for how it transmits all of that is changing. I am heckin' excited about Thunderbolt 5.
Very cool intel.
Very cool.
Thumbs up from me.
But Lian Li gives Phanteks a thumbs down because they're suing them.
Why?
For violating patents when it comes to their Unifan lineup or how those fans connect together.
Oh.
Yes, so they filed a lawsuit after Lian Li was granted this patent in June of 2020. This lawsuit was filed in May of 2023 for the Glacier One 360D30 CPU cooler, which this is what the Phanteks one looks like. That's not quite what the Lian Li one looks like, but maybe it uses the same technology, just located in a different situation. Obviously, this is what lawsuits are for, that actually figuring out how far does this application go in this physical dimension. I'm not sure, I'm not a patent lawyer, but we'll find out. And we'll also find out how fast Nvidia GPUs can go in Starfield as soon as they continue to patch them, because there's reports coming out that if you modded your resizable bar yourself, you could get faster FPS in Starfield.
Interesting.
Nvidia said, okay, hey, we fixed it already. It's now in a driver update. So that it changes the resizable bar profile. They're saying, on average, 5% increase in RTX 40 series performance, which is pretty good for a single update. Yeah, just a single profile that had to be enabled, not a ton of tweaking that needed to go on.
They're being quite proactive with the updates specifically for Starfield.
Yes, and Intel being very proactive when it comes to the AI front, which is something that pains my heart to talk about because I want Intel to focus on gaming GPUs. But AI GPUs, they put out new benchmarks for their upcoming Gaudi 2 accelerator and showed that it can actually stand with Nvidia's high-end stuff.
Interesting.
At least in the benchmarks that they chose. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt. principled technology shenanigans, you know, have happened before where like benchmarks get skewed, but they show that the Gaudi 2, at least in GPT J99, can get nearly 79 queries per second, whereas the H100 is at about 85.5. So obviously, depending on the pricing, the Gaudi 2 can be very competitive with Nvidia on that front. The GPT J99 offline throughput, it's about 85–84% of where Nvidia is. So it does look like it gets very close to the H100, beats the A100, Nvidia's past generation, and looks like it's going to be putting Intel into a very serious conversation with regards to AI graphics cards.
This will be interesting to see how it either changes the market up behind the scenes that we don't really see much about until there's a big overwhelming wave.
Yes, so that is essentially why I include this in hot news. I don't expect any of you to go out and buy a Gaudi 2 or an H100, but what I do want to bring up is the conversation surrounding that Nvidia just had a $13 billion quarter, with $10 billion of that coming from their AI accelerators. Yeah. They don't have that quarter if AMD and Intel have reasonably priced alternatives.
Yeah.
They have a good quarter. They probably make 4, 5, you know, maybe let's say 7 billion. They don't triple their gaming numbers, they double them, which allows them to still realize, hey, we need to keep this entire gaming GeForce sector on board. We need to keep competitive in that in order for us to actually win on all fronts. So I think Intel getting into this game, showing some good numbers, hopefully it gets adopted at some point, makes it so that gamers could win eventually.
It could be good for the average Joe down the line.
That's what I'm hoping. Speaking of the average Joe, let's do some comment response. Joan Evans, author, said, I tried to turn that into Joe, saying, excellent prediction about USB on the iPhone. I'm sure you'll be spot on with that. I wasn't. They honestly were not, they did not spend too much time on USB-C.
They didn't hype it up at all, really.
Just as far as they needed to talk about it with the 15 Pro and like even less on the regular 15. Yeah. They were just like, hey, we have it now. It enables these things.
Here's this thing.
You wanted it, here you go. Yeah, so I was wrong on that. Firebean says, if you guys happen to have a Vega 64 lying around, you should benchmark it with Starfield. The results are quite interesting. I don't have a single Vega card, but like everybody was like, what happens? What happens? He didn't respond. Firebean, come on. What are you trying to tell us? Who has a Vega card? Who tests that in Starfield? Please let us know. Octagonal Square brings up, didn't Apple actually have a hand in creating the USB-C standard? Like, wouldn't this be one of the few times they kind of did make it? Yes. So that is part of the joke, is that they were involved in the USB-IF decision on how to make USB-C. So were a bunch of other companies. They were not the only one, but they did obviously have a lot of needs that they wanted to bake into it, like Thunderbolt, DisplayPort, all of that kind of stuff, because Apple's big thing was Thunderbolt.
Yeah. And it just led to smaller laptops overall. They wanted to be a part of the conversation when it came to that. So.
Yeah, they launched the MacBook with USB-C early on in 2016. It
was the first device that I went and saw personally that had USB-C, and I went into the store specifically just to see it.
Yep. So it's interesting. Kokadin has a decent point, saying black I/O on a graphics card looks good, but try to fit an HDMI cable into an HDMI port if it's in a row with 3 display ports under a desk. I hear you. I understand your pain and your difficulty. I say you kind of normally only have to do it once.
For my personal experience, I'm doing it once in a while. The flashlight on my phone. That's really all I can say to this.
Z-Shrink says the Catlin cam at the end was perfect. I agree. And then we're going to leave off with Zoth, who said, man, I love a stomach full of saliva for breakfast. Almost as good as Deal Master's Yummy Yummy Deals.
Yummy Yummy Deals.
Yummy Yummy Deal Master!
No.
Sorry, Kyler scolded me. See you tomorrow for Hot News, friends. Here on this channel, thankfully. Wow.
Surprise.
I thought we were down for a week. I'm glad that we're still here.